is doing well, no matter where you see this information throughout the world. The world is so big, and I'm just super excited for our first episode, the new economy. And I have an amazing special guest that I met going on 2 months ago. And it's just a blessing when you step into the networking space where you get to meet people from all over the world, from different backgrounds. But it's also a blessing to meet people when you meet them and we're on the same frequency, same thought process, love doing the same things when it comes to helping people, serving people, and involved in things that are beneficial and valuable for the world. So just a quick briefing on myself, CEO of A Rich Education. So those who have been following me, maybe those who are just new to seeing myself and hearing that title where you see the logo, Rich Education, we have to understand that the educational system that we've been and the information that we've been receiving from the educational system has been something that's really not relevant for the times that we're living in. We're in a time where we got to keep it real, but we also got to bake cakes with everyone. When I say bake cake, if you go fast with a cake or if you run through the house, the cake will fall. But when you bake it slow, I understand, we can't just throw information on people. People have to get it in a way where they're, receptive to it. And I understand that. But we're in a point today in our economy and the knowledge that we get and the knowledge that we accept. I like a saying that you could bring a horse to the water, but you can't force him to drink it. So we want to bring you the water. We want to give you the opportunity to drink the information. And this is where I came up with the title for my business of Rich Education. This is not about getting rich quick. That won't happen. I mean, this happened for some people, but then they go broke fast. You know what I mean? Because it's about the knowledge that we get. And with that being said, great people, I'm super excited to bring this information to you. I started my company in 2019, and I've been running heavy since. So with that being said, I want to bring my guest to the forefront, this amazing young lady, Miss Sally. Well, Miss Sal, I want to say that. Miss Sal, can you hear me? I want to make sure you can hear me. We're running our miles, and I want to make sure that we can hear each other.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh my gosh, I hear you loud and clear. And once again, there may be a little technical difficulties. First podcast running, and I'm super excited about that. And it's not about me, it's about you, Miss Sal. And I'm super excited, just to be here. And whoever known the day I met you at that amazing event where we're talking about assets, we're talking about relevance. We're in a room with multi-millionaires, individuals who come from nothing, come from zero to be heroes. And so here we are today. And, when I was taught years ago how to just open my mouth and speak to people, but I had been seeing you from afar anyway on Zooms. So you were just a superstar when I saw. I was like, man, I get a chance to meet Miss Sal in person. So I was super excited. So Miss Sal, just tell the world about yourself. Just today, right? It's all right. Good.
Yeah. First and foremost, I want to say grand rising to you.
Thank you so much.
Express my deepest gratitude for inviting me to your first ever event or show. And if I may respond to your lead a horse to water.
Please.
Could I just give my take on that?
Please, absolutely. It's about transparency.
Right. So I'm an Army veteran, and there's some things that happened during service that, led a few symptoms to arise, which essentially drove me to look into, alternative medicine, just so I could be here and present and be whole. Right. And so one of the things I did was equestrian therapy. And so I had to literally lead a horse to water, and the horse did not drink. But do you know why a horse does not drink when you lead it to water?
No, ma'am.
It's not thirsty. It isn't thirsty. That's why you could lead a horse to water and not drink, because it's not thirsty. So it's a great saying, but it's outdated. It can't, people say things that doesn't make any sense, right? So we're here to bring sense, right? Like just like when people tune out. When the moment, like your information, Rich Education, right? What you're dealing with people regarding information, right? The moment, especially if people continue to live that limited belief, right? rich education, people will tune out, right? It's like, oh, that's not for me, but let me like peek out and look. Or people just continue to, for lack of better saying, live with the blinders on. They don't look left, right. They just keep going straight because that's how they've been trained to do. So you can lead a horse to water. Absolutely, you can lead a horse to water and not drink because it isn't thirsty.
So that person's not thirsty for the information right now. They're complacent where they are, with all due respect.
Yes, exactly. You just got to show them, hey, there's the water. But believe me, we all know where the water is, right? We all know what the information is. We all know where to get it. But we need. I love how your part of your business name is education, because that's where we need to be. We living in the microwave world, right? People want things instantly. The point that I was trying to get at is that, education is key, right? We can give all the information out in the world, but if that's all you're aiming is to give information, that won't go anywhere. But the fact that education means that there's this interaction right now, right? The interaction is what keeps the information going, because it's education, right? So
wow,
that's what I was trying to say. So thank you.
No, that's powerful, Sally. So with that being said, what's your thought? And there's two things I want to ask you, because you mentioned military, and I apologize for not bringing that up. You being a veteran. So I have some questions on that. But what's your thought right now with the present educational system? Do you feel that it's relevant for the times that we're living in to guide people into the right direction for the present economy?
Are you talking about our current education system, or are you talking about just education in general?
No, our current educational system.
Oh, see, that's the thing. What's funny about our education system is not what it was 20 years ago, right? They're constantly taking away and cutting off from it, right? What I'm really disappointed in is that they're leaving teachers, right, they're giving teachers a lot of responsibilities, but they're not giving them the pay. And not just that, they're also not giving them the resources, right? We talk in America, or maybe even around the world. I don't know. I can't speak of what's going on outside our country, but here in the United States of America, we keep talking about, hey, our children are our future. They're our future workforce is really what they are. So we don't teach them enough. We don't teach them how to be rich because we want to keep them behind. We want to keep them in the poor person mentality. And a poor person mentality is simply this, right? You live enough to survive. Or wait, hold on. Not live enough to survive. You work enough to survive, but not to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
Constantly keep people in the box, right? Constantly keep people conditioned to keep working. So what? So that people, the top 1%ers make their money off of mining people for their resources. And what are we mining people for their resources for? Their time, their efforts, their energy. And if you happen to surpass the membrane or the boundaries of being above and beyond just a worker bee, right, for lack of a better term, then they mine you for your information. They mine you for your intellectual property. But let me go back to this education, right? It becomes a responsibility. I think ultimately it isn't just the education system's job to educate our youth. I think as parents, we need to take a role too. The education, we believe that our children are our future, but we don't give them the resources that they need. And the teachers who are given this, this huge role, not only are they the babysitter, they're also our educator. They're also responsible to teach our children how to behave, when really whose responsibilities is that to begin with?
Parents. But
then if the parents are taught the same way, right? How do you break the cycle? Right? If the parents were taught the same way as they're being taught, that they're supposed to be dependent on the system, but then blame the system. I don't get it, right? We have this cyclic craziness that continues to perpetuate, that only gets worse by the decade, right? Here we are, I remember being told what schools used to provide for teachers and students, and then they just kept chipping away at that every decade. It seems like it's a huge difference, right? And even the way we teach our kids, we have this long-winded way of teaching them how to do freaking math, okay? Freaking math. We can't even teach them the right way to do math. It isn't as simple, like the way we learn math is different from the way our children learn math. So with that said, we have to take responsibility for our children back, especially if we're informed and we have the information. And
we're not here to put down the teachers. You use
no,
absolutely. And I just wanted the audience to know that. I don't want anyone to think that we're putting down the teachers, right?
No, not at all.
We need our teachers. I mean, because a child is the product of their environment, and their brain is so fragile when they're young that they're just downloading so much great information. But it's the shaping that begins when they're young. So, it's nothing negative towards the teachers, but it's just the system and who controls the system that, directs the teachers in the direction they have to go based on their position.
True. Exactly that. So it's an unfortunate thing, but as parents, we do have to take a role and we have to step up. Instead of complaining about what our teachers are not doing for our children, we need to look at what we're doing for our children. Especially, let me end with this. Especially when we reach a point where we know what's going on. Like me, I started doing things different with my kids. And
yes, ma'am.
With that.
Okay. And a great way to end it, but I just got to come back with this, man. That's why I titled this The New Economy. And that may be, different, but the new economy really started a few years before I was born. And that new economy started in 1971. And we'll dive a little bit into that later on. But one of my other questions to you, Sally, was, you being in the military and what with that journey there, you know what I'm saying? There's so much that goes on within the United States military, so much going on today. There's so much that's shifting into this new world that we're entering to. What was just your experience to get you to where you are right now, with the mindset you have right now, with the leadership roles that you're playing on a daily basis right now? What has gotten you to where you are right now, but coming through the military?
So military-wise, the one main thing that I learned from the military that carries out today is the camaraderie, right? So I grew up with 3 younger brothers. So that brotherhood was already in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. It's already embedded. So coming into the military, I carry that through and I carry that over. And it's important to have great leadership. For me, it was natural for me to lead because I had 3 younger brothers to lead. So when I joined the military, it was easy for me to fit in. You when you're told what to do and you do it, you don't get in trouble, right? You don't question it until afterwards, because if you question authority at that moment, there are things that tend to not, because it's already a system in place, right? It's already a system in place. It's different if there wasn't a system in place. The military is already a proven entity as a system that works in place, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, and I know you read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Robert Kiyosaki, he did fly helicopters. He spoke on some significant things during that time when he served in the military during the Vietnam War, and what they were really over there for. Your take on what Mr. Robert Kiyosaki spoke on, if you remember that, because we know during that time, this is when he really discovered what real money is, and the purpose of understanding precious metals. But during that time, and I even shared a briefing on TikTok about this, but during that time, America's whole project was not based on what some may think it was, but it was based on the assets that were in Vietnam at that time. What's your take on what Robert Kiyosaki brought to the world, if you remember him making that statement?
Heaven forgive me, but I am only on chapter 1 of that book.
Oh my gosh, I gotta get you for that. What? Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I know.
Okay. It's all good.
Ray Patterson was the one that got me turned into the book. He told me to read the book, so I was reading the 4 quadrant first, and I'm midway into that, and he goes, No, Sally Mary, go back.
Okay.
So
when you come back to visit us, I want you, that's your home assignment, Sally. I want you to, I know time is of the essence with you right there, but I'm going to get you for that. Every entrepreneur, which you are, should have read Rich Dad Poor Dad. So we'll talk about that. Look, before you came on, I said I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to come out with some questions, and right now, the people's perception of the U.S. military may be a lot different from what it was back then, especially if you know history. And when we talk about history, the traditional educational system gives you his story, not true history. So we need to know facts today.
His story.
Right. Absolutely. So, but that's your homework, Sally. And I know time is of the essence. Next thing, you know, okay, this guy, Demi has Sally on here, Miss Sal. Okay, but like I mentioned, we met at an event, and this event was so critical for the times that we're living in. But it was a great event for those who participated in it because of just what we had the opportunity to do. I mean, you and I have come together, you know, like minds attract. You know, your network is your net worth, but we don't want to just look at it on the financial side. It's something called social capital. And once a person understands you are the 5 people you're connected with, so I want to collaborate with people who are thinking I can learn from, we can learn from each other that's adding value. And once again, we talked about the scenario of a horse being brought to water. Some people just don't want to drink it. But you and I meeting at that event, Sally, just talk about that event. I mean, that was a powerful event. I mean, I learned so much. I got to meet so many people, other people being in the military. Just how powerful was that event, Sally?
Well, you know, when you come together, right, like minds, like you just said, right, like attracts like, first and foremost. And the second thing is your mind has to be open. I love Chris Lattin's analogy about the parachute, right? When you're jumping out of a plane, he likens the mind, you know, to open like have it open like a parachute. And so when the thing that really my biggest takeaway from that event is the amount of willingness that people have, not just to share, not just to communicate, but to learn from each other, right? It isn't about what one person can bring to you, is what everyone brings together. And
wow.
So as powerful as that day is, what follows after is what gives it its power. Just like when you go to the gym and you work out, right? You lift weights, like it's so hard, but your workout doesn't stop there. It keeps going, right? The continuous breakdown and rebuilding continues for, you know, way after, days after the workout.
Absolutely.
And that's how I see that event as something that keeps on going. It's a gift, right? That keeps giving us something.
I love it, Sal. I love it. And you know what, Sal? I know people are like, so what was going? Anyone still hanging out with us? What was going at the event? So let's dive quickly into why physical gold and physical silver, which was the basis of the event. We're using an amazing platform that we're so excited about. I know I'm jacked out of my mind to be part of something that's not just relevant for the times, not just valuable for the times, but it's really saving families' lives once they get that education like we're talking about, to know how important this is. I mean, I can come all day and say, well, look, this is what wealthy people are doing. This is how they allocate their portfolio. They understand the importance of diversification. But what led you, because I mean, you've given it to me, but the world has to know why you yourself, that story that you gave me of your amazing grandmother, what has gotten you to just, wanting to hold on to precious metals, gold and silver, and why you feel it's important to bring this to the world?
Well, so my grandmother, she had the knack to understand a lot of things. And, she never graduated high school. Matter of fact, she only has a second grade education, believe it or not. She was born in the early 1900s, but she understood the value that gold stores. She doesn't hold on to cash. Oh, I was going to grab cash. I don't have it in front of me now. But she understood that when that thing burns, it's gone. Right? But gold and silver, it stays, right? Regardless, I mean, heaven forbid your house burns, right? She understood that it stores value. So every child that's born in a family, boy or girl, receives something of a precious metal as a gift, whether it's a pair of earrings, a bracelet, a necklace, everybody got it. And so for her, she understood that not only did it kept up with, we didn't call it inflation back in the day. We just called it as a form of secured savings, right? And that's how she looked at gold. And she looked at gold as a way that she understood that it kept up with what we now call inflation, right? Commonly call inflation, because when she bought gold, she didn't buy gold for the style of it. She bought it because of the weight. You know, they charged her for the value of the gold. So it didn't matter if it was a tiara or a ring. It was sold to her in the weight, the value of it in its weight. So because she understood that, then that's when she, you know, she figured, well, you know, it'd be benign, you know, it'd be easier for people to see it in the jewelry form than in a coin form. But she did also have coins.
Wow, so that
question.
That absolutely, and that legacy continued, because now you're not just saving in precious metals for yourself. You're helping other people acquire precious metals, leveraging this powerful system that we have. Then understand that systems bring success. I mean, even though McDonald's isn't healthy, but they still have a system for being one of the most biggest and prominent restaurants in the world. You know what I'm saying? They have a system. You know what I mean? So that's just powerful to know that you've been blessed. I do remember my grandmother having silver and everything when I was young, but she didn't talk to me about it, Sally. But in today's time, it's important. And that's why when I brought up the new economy started in 1971, when we came off the gold standard. And this is when the U.S. economy itself figured out that they could just print money unlimited. And as we know, history has told, you and I know, but we want the world to know that every fiat currency that's been created in time has gone back to its intrinsic value, which is zero. So we're not, you know, doomsday people. We're just people who want education, and we want to prepare, and we want to have fun while we're saving precious metals. And that's what our platform brings. It brings a lot of knowledge. I mean, we have some of the best in the game that's looked over millions of coins. And I'm just a student every day to what we're doing. And there's so much more that you and I could talk about, but I know time is of the essence. And I'm just super excited, Sal, for you to come on to the first stream. We've had some hiccups, but look, I don't care. I'm going to be transparent with those. It's been all good. And with those hiccups, as we see bringing this thing to an end, it's been a great thing. Anything, Sal, that you want to bring to the world? Because I want to just, you know, thank everyone tuning in, but it's been a blessing and an honor to have this young lady on. And I just knew that when I was seeing her on Zoom, getting that, it was something that you just said I wanted to bring up real quick, Sal, if I could. I remember hearing you say on a Zoom months ago that, you know, gold and silver is really not buying anything. It's really just exchanging a piece of paper for, you know, two forms of money. One just holds value. Can you just speak briefly on that? You know, because it's mindset when it comes to gold and silver, because many don't take it serious.
Right. Well, it's just converting your paper money to gold, to something tangible, right? I mean, I go back to the thing about burning, right? Paper will be gone. And so, sorry, I'm having a flashback of my grandmother talking about how you have, you know, keeping your eyes on the prize.
Yes, ma'am.
She was so focused on this shiny dime on the table, and she had $1,000 in her hands, that when the people left, she literally put the cash down and went chasing the dime. And why am I bringing that up right now? The reason I'm bringing that up right now is sometimes we already have all the information that we need on our hands. We just need to understand the information that's in front of us, right? Yes, so something easy as a task of converting cash into gold and silver, like that's already, I'm not a Bible thumper in any way, shape, or form, but it's a true social experiment that's already a system, right? Religion, Christianity, where God's money, right? Gold and silver has mentioned, like, if you don't understand that, if a person cannot understand that even through time, it's been traded for over 5,000 years, right? It's something that holds value. It's something that doesn't rust. It doesn't tarnish. It holds its value. If you do not understand that very fundamentals of that, then I don't know what else to tell you to get you to understand the value of having tangible asset like gold and silver in your hands. You know, like here's a coin of my, you know, this is a coin from my grandmother. It's from
wow, that's amazing.
1924.
1924.
This
is zero debasement in that coin. That's all pure right there.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, this is her. You know, this is, I don't even remember what.
That's true legacy right there.
Yep. So this was hers. and she kept it all this time. And so, you know, I wanted to. I wanted to end with this, right? I mean, not end, but I wanted to add this to what you were saying regarding the fiat currency, right? Just means the cash-based system. It didn't start with us, right? It started off in, you know, Germany, Zimbabwe, all these other countries were in the fiat system. You know, Nixon thought that we could do the same, or we could just print the money endlessly without backing it up with just a simple promise, because we are a power country, right? We are a superpower, so why not? He took advantage of that superpower, and that's how the dollar continues to have its strength. Not simply because, you know, not just simply because, you know, we can do it. It's because he is basing it off of our pure reputation, based off of the world's idea on how to keep the currency going through this, you know, non-gold backed, non-silver backed.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I appreciate you sharing that. The last thing is you take this out, and I'm going to continue on as you take this out, Sal. Operation Better Me. As you end this with yourself, we appreciate your time. Explain that quickly. What does that mean?
So Operation Better Me, as quickly as I could do it. So I was going through changes in my life, and in the military, we don't call something a war. We call it an operation. So when I was going through some shifts and some changes in my life, I had a friend who was in the Marine Corps said, Sal, stop being a toilet, right? Stop taking people's crap, right? You need to be better. Matter of fact, there's a battle, there's multiple battles, there's a war going on with you. You need to focus on you. Operation Better Sally. So as I got better through time, right, I no longer saw it as just about me. I figured if I went through this, who else is going through this? So when you say Operation Better Me, right, it isn't about me. It's about the me who says the me. So it's a company I started back in 2017, which helps. You know, well, it's a way to make you feel empowered by actually giving you the information on what it means to feel empowered, not just a buzzword that we kick around, right? Like rocks down the street. No, you know, to feel empowered is to go back to what you have in your title, in your business name, right? Education. It goes back to, you know, information without the action is just that information, but information with action is education.
I love it. Right. So the renewing of the mind, basically. I love it. I love it. Miss Sal, it's been an honor. We appreciate your time. Looking forward to having you on board with us so we can speak on what's relevant. You enjoy your day. Thank you for all of the hiccups that we had today. And I want you to have a peaceful day, guys. All right. Thank you so much, Miss Sal. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right, great people. Let's take a quick infomercial break, and we'll come back in so we can close out the first podcast of A Rich. So welcome back to A Rich Education with Demi Sanya. Super excited about my first podcast this afternoon, this evening. I don't know where you may be seeing this from, guys, but I had a few hiccups, you know, using different platforms. I want to be transparent on here, man. You got to understand this, great people. No matter what you want to do, it's not going to always go smooth. You can practice, you can prepare. Not saying it can't go smooth. Yeah, it can go smooth, especially with preparation. But sometimes certain things will get in the way. And if you are a person who is determined and does not want to quit, you can make it happen. So I had a lot of hiccups, wanting to use different platforms, came across an amazing platform, but I didn't have enough time to study it. So I got through it, and I'm excited. And, you know, I hope you guys got some value from that. And once again, just as I bring this to a close, the new economy, what does that mean to you? Okay. What does that mean to you? If you go to a new job, you have to learn a new job. So, well, Demi, what most don't have an idea of what an economy means. Because really, to be honest with you, the number one economy is the economy inside your home. The rich get richer as the poor middle class get hurt. But it's because it's not because rich people or wealthy people have money. Yeah, money surely reaches up there with oxygen, and it actually affects everything that we deal with. I mean, you need money to be watching this because you got to pay for your Wi-Fi, your internet, or your cell phone bill. So, but it's information, great people. It's education. Remember, when we talked about education in the stream, we weren't actually talking about that in a negative form. Okay, but we have to look at how and where everyone is going. We have high-paid employees doing better than many. You know, you may make $1 million, $400,000 may go to taxes, but $600,000 a year is still decent money. But then we have to look at what's leaving us. Okay, so in the new economy, it's about what's coming back to us. How are we preserving what we're working hard for? How are we protecting it? And this is where the renewing of the mind has to come in, great people. If you want to win, because we're in a completely different space, and we're going to be talking about that on certain episodes. Really, we're going to talk about everything. And if time allows me and the amazing guests that I have on board and the things we're going to be learning, if time allows us to prepare, because we really don't have a lot of time to do any deep study, you got to get the knowledge and you got to make moves. Yes, the basis of a Rich Education podcast is on protection, is on preservation, it's on fighting inflation, it's on beating the ramifications that are taking place globally around the world. How do you do that, great people? Precious metals is your only answer. Now, you do have cryptocurrency, you do have decentralized platforms, offline wallets that you want to learn, and it's called diversifying. Okay, not having all your eggs in one basket. So we'll be sharing things with you. I'll be bringing professionals on that's been in this space, that know the space, speak very well, but keep it simple so you can understand and so you can move forward, making moves in the new economy. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone that tuned in with me this evening, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're seeing this information at. And I want you to tune in with me every Wednesday, okay? Every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And once again, from wherever you are, that timing may be a little different, but it'll be posted up. I want you to follow my YouTube, Demi Sanya, as you see the spelling of my name here, A Rich Education. Okay, follow that YouTube channel. Follow my podcast channel as well. You can also find me on Instagram. You'll see the handles there. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited. And once again, I went through a little bit of storm, some thunderstorms, getting this all prepared, but it ended well. So thank you again. Remember, stay safe, stay learning, because if you're not learning, you're dying. And just prepare and pay attention to your surroundings. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. And until next time, a Rich Education.